What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome back to our fourth and final installment of F Words with Friends. Thank you so much for rocking with me all week. What I think has been awesome is that I have seen some people who joined us on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and I trust that you'll be back again tonight to join me for today's awesome conversation. Our guest tonight is the epitome of last but not least. She is brilliant in her mind. She is so talented. And I'm going to read her bio a little bit, but she's so smart, super duper funny. Our brains and our minds just connect off the bat. So, this is the time for you to invite someone to join us in tonight's conversation. I'm asking for you to be active in the chat as you have been all week long. Your questions have been amazing, and I've definitely received testimonies that people have gotten free or they've really gotten something from this week's conversations. And so I expect that tonight will be no different. My guest tonight is Kim Honeycutt. Kim has a whole bunch of letters behind her name, a whole bunch of alphabet soup, which just means that she's super duper smart. But she has a master's degree in social work. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She is certified in clinical forensic counseling, and she is a licensed clinical addictions specialist. All the things, all the things. She has a beautiful mind when it comes to trauma and understanding shame, having grace for people. She loves the Lord. We have that in common. So I am super duper excited to bring my friend to the stage, Miss Kim Honeycutt.
Hi.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sister.
Yes, take the deep breath, the
Yeah.
deep cleansing breath as we get started on tonight. How are you feeling about being here?
I'm excited. I love to talk.
Yes.
And I love to talk to active, hungry audiences
Hmm.
who have enough connectedness to themselves to hear different perspectives. And I know that's who you are and
Yeah.
who you surround yourself with. And even your introduction into this, even watching that, like my pride for you, and I know where you've been and where you are today. And it's just all of it's a testimony. All
Ah,
of it.
all
It's,
of
it's
it.
so good. It's so good. So thank you. What an honor.
Of course. And you know what I love about our conversation tonight is
Mhm.
that I have no idea where it's going.
I don't either. We have something else in common. We don't know. We're
When
trusting
the
God.
two of us get together, who knows what direction this conversation is going to
That's right.
go.
That's right.
So
Mm.
we're gonna see. We're gonna see. We are here for the F words. We are
Yes.
here for the big F words. Forgive, forget, all the
Mm-hmm.
feelings. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
open up with the same question I've been asking all of my guests, which is what makes forgiveness such a dirty word, a dirty
Mm-hmm.
process? What are your thoughts in that area?
It's such a good question. And here's the thing, it's dirty because manipulation entered it,
Mm,
more of a narcissistic slant came in.
yeah,
And you don't have to be a Christ follower to be part of this conversation, but as a Christ follower, like being taught initially about the front of the cross, that people had sinned, Jesus had not, but these people had sinned and they were being crucified.
yeah.
We don't talk about the back of the cross.
Ooh,
Those of us who were sinned against, those are us who had horrific violations.
yeah.
And so to force somebody into forgiveness means you ask them to go to be in the beginning of the train, right? Without ever walking through and making it to the caboose, going to every car and having a complete transformation. And it's part of why I love that Jesus said on the Bible on the cross, it is finished.
It is finished.
We
Yes.
have to finish what's unfinished.
Mm,
So if you use forgiveness in a way as if that's the start and the finish, you've missed so many steps for that person, and God's going to be in that process for them, and they get to find out more about themselves in the process.
yeah.
And the beauty of forgiveness doesn't get to they don't get to encounter the different angles of it, the beauty of it, and have their own personal transformation.
Yeah. And forgiveness is definitely a personal process.
Yes,
It is not one size fits all.
that's right.
What works for me may not work for you, may not work for, but all of us having these collective conversations,
Hmm.
it's like putting tools out for people to be able to use.
Yeah. And like, and it's good to have contradictions in it. Like,
Mm,
I hope I say things that's contradictory,
yeah,
to other people, because like it's really good. Like that's an enriched conversation, right?
yeah,
What we
yeah.
don't want, and what I don't want to be part of, is invalidation.
Mm.
The title of my book, "But Your Mother Loves You," comes from being
This
abused.
book.
Right there, that one. That's look at
I
me.
support my friends.
That's
Listen.
right. Yes, we got to support each other on this.
Yes.
That you know, I would tell people about my mother abusing me, and they would say, "But your mother loves you."
Mm.
And so then they were teaching me. She had already coupled abuse and love for me through my childhood, and then other
Wow.
people were coupling abuse and love. They were bringing
Yeah.
forgiveness in, but what they did was they took their experience and put it on top of me. So
Yeah.
I didn't get to be in my process and finish what had happened. Like, and again, for me, God showed up in finishing that.
Yeah.
But the start of it, how I got abused, and to bypass all of that, I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gotten in the trenches and
Wow.
gotten really dirty
Yeah.
with what
Yeah.
happened to me, and then learn on my process how to forgive and what to forgive.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
How to forgive and what to forgive. I don't think
Yeah.
we've dove into that space. What do you
Yeah.
mean by that? What to forgive?
Well, let's just throw the what out as the other four F words, since we're doing a
Yeah.
module words.
Yeah.
And that is knowing you have a part of your brain that's like a little almond. It's your amygdala. It's where your
Yeah.
emotions and your trauma responses live. And so fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Those are your trauma responses. So a lot of us have had things happen to us. They were just bigger than our emotional regulations, bigger than our support. And that becomes trauma. And that means we can end up living in one or more or all of those F words, those trauma
Mhm.
responses,
Yeah.
and calling it connection, calling it life, calling it normal. And so we don't even get to look at what caused me to live in a fawning, which is like codependency, a
Yeah.
trauma response, a fawning. It's really helpful. We don't have to know the origin, but to learn that my way of dealing with how she hurt me was to learn how to fawn or learn how to fight, like to really get dirty in that. So if I do it today, I don't have to live in it.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm living in it, I'm not in my higher consciousness where I really get to experience God.
If you're living in your unforgiveness and still living in your pain, you can't get to your higher consciousness and what you're called to be, what you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to
Yeah, if
live.
you get stuck in the trauma response of it. And so I
Yeah.
want to force himself into forgiveness, like learning to connect to yourself, learning to figure out. A lot of people fear forgiving the person because they think that means they're saying it's okay. They think it's going to happen to them again.
Yes.
Other people will not look at the offenses towards them. They won't even know they're worthy of forgiving somebody, because if they see it, then they have to change the relationship. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to
That's a
intimate. Yeah,
that's a great connection. If they see it, they'll feel like they have to change the relationship. And if they're forced into it, they're just not ready.
that's right. And so if I'm having to look at this as a horrific, abusive, narcissistic relationship, right? And I'm staying in denial, I'm staying frozen, right? And I'm not seeing that, like the idea of starting to like slowly have support and see this, that how I'm being treated, I'm actually worth more than that.
Yeah.
Worth more than that. I got to learn some self forgiveness. I got to know this person isn't going to change, doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I have to, right? But if I can't get, if you're going to tell me I have to forgive, if you're going to tell me, well, what did you do that caused him to do that?
Yeah.
I'm never going to get to the core of what's really going on, and I don't know what to forgive and what to do differently.
That's good. You're saying basically if someone's blaming you for the
Yeah,
pattern of unforgiveness, then you'll never really get to the heart of what even started the cycle
that's
and
right.
the abusive behavior or the narcissistic behavior.
That's right.
You'll never get to the heart of that because you're so stuck in the cycle of being forced to do and
Right.
basically being more abused, further abused.
Yeah, further abuse, right? Because most of us who've been abused do a lot of self blame,
Yeah.
right? And then you got people on the outside blaming you and all the things happening that adds to that.
Yeah.
And we just define blame for a second, that blame and responsibility have never met. They do not know each other.
That's
So
good.
Yeah. So if you flesh out blame, you take out of it, you take out accountability, you take out responsibility. So if I give accountability to my mother for physically and emotionally abusing me.
Yeah.
I take personal responsibility to learn how to forgive that, not live in that, not walk around as a traumatized person, not be a victim, but no one's victimized. Like that's personal responsibility. If I'm blaming myself for what she did, we go nowhere. If I'm completely blaming her, but not looking at what she did,
Yeah.
what it did to me, then I'm not giving her accountability. I'm still in blame.
That's good. Looking at the person versus looking at the behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
finding your personhood in this, like all this stuff
Yeah.
covers up who we actually are. And so we really have to figure out what we're repressing, how to pull that up,
Yeah.
and forgiveness can be part of that bridge. It just can't be a forced bridge.
That's so good. So I have a couple of thoughts that were coming to mind.
Mhm.
You said looking at the person, or blame causes you to look at the person instead of the behavior,
Yeah,
and how that can keep you in a pattern of unforgiveness. Can
right.
you talk about, this is a big one, how that sets people up to have a victim mentality, to
Yeah,
almost always be in the pattern of blaming others?
yeah. So one, let me throw this out there. One thing I diagnose people with is chronic disappointment.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So many of us have had so much disappointment, and so what we do is we decide, we don't have enough security to self. I'll never risk disappointment again. I will swim in what I know, right? And so in that, I constantly have to hear and see the same narrative I've always heard and seen,
Yeah.
right? So people will continue to hurt me because I have one pair of glasses and that's it.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? And so please, everybody remember the definition. By definition, insecurity is a limited view, is a partial view, right? So security is a whole view, whole story, whole narrative, whole person, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I look at something through secure lens, I see all of it, then I can do accountability, responsibility. Then I can see it accurately. But when we're in the throes of being abused or still tethered to that childhood abuse because we have not gone towards it,
Yeah.
then our view is very insecure. And we
Yeah.
see and hear the same thing, and then we become more and more a victim.
View very insecure, very limited, and continues to perpetuate a cycle of
That's
victimization
right.
and seeing everything through a lens, through the glasses of victimization and chronic disappointment.
That's right. That's right.
So good. So
Yeah,
good.
and by no means am I blaming the victims. One of the horrible things we do. I'm sad the church
Yeah.
does them. I'm sad the government. I'm like all of it. It is not that. It's because that blame is part of the invalidation. Like people saying to me, "But your mother loves you. You must have done something for her to
Yeah.
love you." Right? We're not saying that. We're talking about people who it doesn't matter what happens. They will tell you the same. Different people treat them the same way.
Yeah.
Different, same thing, and that is because they don't have freedom yet. They're stuck in something that they don't have forgiveness of, and they don't even know that. They don't even know to go towards it.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. That kind of piggybacks with where the title of my book even came from. It's like
yeah.
without that knowing, you're chronically offended, like
Yes,
everywhere you go.
yes,
Like you
yes, that's
said,
right.
chronic disappointment.
Yep.
But that's exactly what it is. I'm consistently offended everywhere I go
Hmm.
because I'm carrying around unforgiveness, and so I'm sensitive
Yeah.
to being slighted. I'm sensitive to being overlooked. I'm
Hmm.
sensitive
Hmm.
to being chastised. I'm sensitive to even constructive criticism is
Sure.
not constructive to me.
Sure.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm ready to fight you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
you're on point. Yeah. And in that, like I just did a sermon recently a couple weeks ago about chronic disappointment, for the first week of Advent, hope, and
yeah,
then about with chronic disappointment, expectations are what trap you.
yeah,
What you expect from people that they've never done for you. The,
yeah,
the expectations you place on yourself from other people to please them. But we're
yeah,
called to expectancy,
yeah, yeah,
right? We're called to this expectancy, and expectancy is the unknown. Like
yeah,
we're not looking for what we've always seen. We're expecting for something bigger, better, something different.
yeah,
When you're in disappointment, when you're in unforgiveness, you look and subconsciously are drawn to what you've already experienced 10 other times.
10 other times. Yeah. Our brain works with the familiar images and the familiar, even if it was, there's always something comfortable about the uncomfortable. I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. That's
The
it.
comfortable discomforts, our
Yes.
brain kind of gravitates towards
Yeah.
because it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone was asking in the chat, what if you didn't do anything that caused the pain? And so that's exactly what we're talking about. Is a lot of times we are victims of somebody else's
Yep.
stuff, but because it feels so personal, we don't know how to. When you don't know yourself and you have that limited viewpoint of who you are, you
Mhm.
will personalize it even when it's not about you.
Sure. And this is one of the big things, Robin, is that we need to recognize more and more about that. I didn't do anything to cause how someone treated me. Like it's so
Yeah,
important to stand on that truth. I didn't cause that. But I'm ruminating on it. It landed on something. Something's happening for me. And I'm now tethered to a horrible experience.
yeah,
I'm now putting a lot of effort into not re-experiencing something that causes me to actually keep re-experiencing it.
yeah,
So it's just really important that we figure out, and this is what happens in every time. If you're in a pattern, the same thing keeps happening to you, something that you need is being repressed. You got taught as a kid to not have a voice or to not complain or to not, confront somebody. And you're repressing that. And to get out of whatever pattern you're in now, you have to take what's repressed and bring it up. And that's hard.
it's work. It's
Mhm.
work. And you're kind of speaking
Mhm.
to Robin's question here. Have you spoken to anyone who says, why does everyone I meet try to hurt
Yeah.
me? Why
Yeah.
can't I find someone who loves me? So you're
Yeah.
speaking to that chronic pattern of
Mhm.
someone feeling like everywhere I go, people try to
Mhm.
hurt me. It's
Yeah.
a repressed need that was birthed long before you met the person in front of you who's hurting you, the person
Mhm.
who is the current offender, right?
Right.
Birthed somewhere a long time ago where it was repressed,
Mhm.
and now every time you encounter something similar, it feels
Right.
like continued pain and continued disappointment.
Yeah, it's so important, Robin. I appreciate your courage of putting that out there so clearly. Is that I have to examine, because here's the thing: when something is disproportional for me,
Yeah,
something is heavy for me, I am taking probably some attachment strategy, some childhood teaching, and I'm applying it to adult situation.
yeah.
Example: you can't hurt someone's feelings. Oh, yes, you can.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely, you
yes,
can.
we have you're responsible for your delivery, you're responsible for your motive. But if you walk around thinking, I can't hurt someone's feelings, you are one, in fear of rejection, but two, you're deciding they don't have emotional capacity. You're deciding their level of recovery. You're deciding how close they are to God. You're deciding a whole lot. An adult wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
A child taught, you have to invite little Johnny to the party. Staying with that logic, yes, that may work as a child on some level. It will not work in adult relationships. Therefore, we get stuck in patterns.
That's so good. That's so good. I want you, Kim. I think you made the post today. I don't know if you made the post today or I just happened to come across it today. Your post about narcissism,
Yeah, I have lots of posts
that
about
analogy
it. Oh,
was
and I threw the Kleenex.
spot on. Yes. I kind of laughed. I was like, oh, that was perfect. I mean, can you share that
Yeah,
analogy with the people about narcissism? Narcissism
sure.
was the number one word that everyone was talking
Yeah,
about in
yeah,
2023 or 2022 all year
yeah.
long. There's a lot of misconception about what narcissism is.
Mm,
But when it
hmm.
comes to toxic relationships, and
Hmm.
again, we're talking about accountability and blame
Yeah,
and forgiveness. Can you
yeah.
give that analogy of narcissism? I just thought it was
Sure.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment. So, full box of Kleenex, right? And so we are with a narcissistic person. It could be a sibling, it could be your child, it could be your parent, employee, or whatever it is. But just imagine whoever's the narcissist in your life. Yeah, like I keep handing them Kleenex, and I keep handing them Kleenex, and keep making sure they're taken care of and whatever they need. Like I'm here, and symbolically I'm wiping their little runny nose, and I'm always handing them Kleenex. And I'm waiting like for some validation, some thank you. They keep taking it. I'm waiting for some acknowledgement. I'm the one always on the spot handing them the Kleenex. But then what happens is the box is empty, and I think they're gonna at that point realize, oh, you did all this for me and thank me. Instead, they throw the box at me.
Yeah.
Go find some more Kleenex for them. And so I have a decision at that point. Do I get a new box and open it, or is this box meant for somebody else? Because a lot of times we do the right behavior with the wrong person.
Woo! That's a
Right?
word, sis.
Or,
That's a word.
yeah,
Right behavior, wrong people.
wrong person. And so, but knowing, and I'm telling you, and this happens to men too. I want to honor men get abused, but I'm going to talk about women because who I mainly work with. I have worked with so many amazing, talented, educated, beautiful, funny women, and all of them are in a fetal position because of what a narcissist person did to them. And
Yeah.
part of that is it goes back to expectations because narcissistic people, particularly malignant and grandiose narcissists, there's four types, those are two, will do things to you you would never think of.
Yeah.
And we won't let ourselves see it. We won't let ourselves acknowledge, like, I don't care how good you are to them. Their goal, their goal is to cause you to feel and experience your fear of abandonment so that they don't have to. And they will never do it differently than what they're doing. And a lot of times we don't take the time to slow down and look and figure out what's my part in this and take responsibility and stop expecting someone to be who they've never been.
Yeah.
We will end up so far from self. We don't know we're worthy of love. We don't know we're worthy of getting away from them.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. And to add to that, what a narcissistic person is really crafty at doing is making you second guess the authenticity of who you are
Yes, and your sanity.
and
Absolutely.
your sanity. Like they will flip that script
Yep.
so
So
quick
much.
that
Hmm.
and so much, right? That your mind is spinning, and then you're at the point where you're starting to question yourself.
Yeah, that's
Did I
right.
see what I saw? Did
Yep.
I? Did I? Maybe I shouldn't have done it this way. And you
Mm-hmm.
begin to walk on eggshells,
Yep.
trying to make sure, feeling as if you have some control over their
Yep.
response.
Yep.
And again, someone else's response is not your responsibility.
Yep. That's exactly right. But
Yeah,
we have to look at like what stopped me from seeing this accurately
yeah,
and just know it can happen to any of us, and because they bank on the fact that they do things we would never do.
yeah, absolutely.
Ever. They just bank on that. And, I was raised by a covert narcissist. My mother's a covert narcissist, which means she plays on the emotions, loves to put me down. And so my ability to see that was hard. And then other people kept saying, but it's your mother, but it's your mother.
Yeah,
Right? Just be glad she's alive. I'm like, I'm glad she's alive. And she still hits me. Like,
yeah.
it
And
doesn't
she
stop that.
still
I was,
abuses me.
yeah, I
Right.
was in my 30s before she stopped hitting me.
Wow.
And like,
Wow.
yeah. And so it was, then there was so much to it and people invalidate it. So your format, and what you're doing, letting people speak openly about, hey, I'm hurt. And it can be a paper cut or it can be a stab. And
Yeah,
I get to have my own process with this.
that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. Can you talk about how did you get to the point of, like you said, you were in your 30s before she stopped hitting you. And I know you went through a pattern of kind of even running, not only from the pain, but also running from yourself.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
did you get to the point where you were able to stand strong in who you are?
It is a whole lot of reparenting.
That's
And
good.
yeah, and really, so here's part of the thing with the amygdala when I talked about that with the four F words. So here's what's amazing about our brain, and God did this. Like, God created us for this, right? And we're at our best when we're connected. But just know, like, in your amygdala, there are no words, right? It's all emotion, trauma responses. But when you sit with parts of you that are wounded and hurt, and you create and meditate on a different experience than what you actually have, it actually changes your amygdala.
Yeah.
It's beautiful because, again,
Yeah.
there's no words in the middle of it, but bringing a new experience, bringing words, bringing truth to a younger part of you, telling her, I tell my younger stuff, like, my mom never verbally abused me or hit me because of me.
Hmm.
Right.
That's
But
good.
I'm telling her, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm so like, it still is. Because what else would a child think besides it's her fault?
So what you're saying is you created a new narrative
New
for
narrative.
your for your amygdala to hear and believe
Mm.
and respond to differently, and it
Yes.
changed your brain pattern. It
That's right.
changed your brain's capacity to then uh, accept a new identity about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
away from the abusive identity that
Right.
had been formed in you as a child.
Right.
That's a
And there's so much toxic shame in there that I, to this day, can hear it. I just don't get lost in it like I did before.
yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
further letting the
Yeah.
people know like what the amygdala is and how it functions, and just using your terminology of sitting
Mm-hmm.
with yourself and creating a new narrative for your
Yeah.
brain to
Yeah.
accept.
And,
Yeah,
and and when the amygdala starts calming and we start having a different experience, the hippocampus can come online, which means new memories are created.
yeah,
Which means it gets easier as we go to stop being so reactive when there are triggers.
yeah,
It means you get in the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, it's the adult brain.
yeah,
It's rational. It's where it's also it's a, it's a place of connection. And so when someone
yeah,
says something that's maybe not funny, and you, instead of having to go into a fight response and punch them, you can go,
yeah,
yeah, like I'm never gonna think a racist joke is funny. Like I'm not
yeah,
gonna think a funny
yeah,
joke,
yeah,
right? And I can still be a little angry because I can be connected to myself and say it, opposed to I shut down, I say nothing, and then I beat myself up later.
yeah.
All that, right? We have to create new experiences.
Okay, hold on, because you just broke down something that was so people's knee jerk reactions
Yeah,
are what they are.
yeah,
So you're saying normally I hear a racist remark, I want to punch you, I want to fight you,
yes,
right? But
yes,
when you sit with your amygdala and then your hippocampus starts to go off and
hmm,
allow you to create new memories and new
right,
understandings of yourself, you
right.
can use your adult brain and respond differently. It
That's right.
doesn't make them any less ignorant or
That's right.
stupid or, doesn't make them any less offensive.
Right.
It just means that you've chosen a response from a
Hmm.
healthier place of
Hmm.
your brain as opposed to responding
Hmm.
from the hurt part of your brain.
Right. And what you just said too was crucial about like they are still going to be,
Yeah, they are
instant
who they are.
react.
Yes.
But what happens is that because I stay connected and I say to him, I say to the person like, is something wrong with you?
Yeah.
Is that your best? Because
Yeah.
that's not going to ever fly with me. If I can't say that, guess how I'm going to treat myself later?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what anyone says to you. It matters what you tell yourself,
That's good.
right?
That's
And
good.
so, yeah, so it's just really important that later, like I've done something, I'm sitting in my adult self, I'm connected to me, and I'm like, like, all right, I'm trusting you, God. You use me in that moment to say
Yeah.
what I need to say. Instead of being like, I can't believe I froze. I can't believe I didn't say anything. I can't believe that I'm complicit now with racism. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have to live in that because I've learned to connect. I've learned to be calm. I've learned to speak from an adult place.
That's good. I want to rehash something you said, and then there's one more question in the chat. Um, so one of the things that I have said, it's not about what happens; it's about what you believe about what happens.
Mm-hmm. So
That
good.
then creates a different response, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the analogies I give is, if my husband didn't do the dishes when I asked him to do the dishes, if I believed he was lazy,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get a different response than if I believe. I'm sorry, that was bad
That's
timing for
good. That's good. Though. No, it's good. It's worth it. Worth every second. Yeah.
if I believed he was lazy, right?
Yeah.
Then my response is different than if I believed, oh, he was sick or
Right.
he was really tired, or
Right.
or if I believed he ignored me. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna
Mm-hmm.
get a different response. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not about the behavior that
That's
happens; it's
right.
what you believe about the behavior that
Yeah.
happens that then
Yeah.
contributes to your response
Right. That's
to
right.
that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah.
that's
That's absolutely good. Yeah.
okay. Let's get to the question. Robin's rolling with us
All
tonight.
right, Robin, let's go.
Are there any signs one could look for, or are they so good that they
Uh,
won't show
Ooh,
their
that's
narcissistic
good,
behavior?
Robin.
Here's the
That's
question.
good.
It's a great
Let me,
question.
yeah, let me tell you, I'm so upset right now about narcissism in the legal system. I got a
Mm,
really hard case I'm working on.
yeah.
That as therapists, we're always checking in about counter transference,
Yes.
always making sure if you remind me of my mom or remind me of an
Yeah.
ex, like we always do that on purpose so that session is about the person and not my own
Not
stuff.
about me and my stuff. Right.
Well, judges don't have that check and balance. They don't
Yeah.
have to do that. So I've got a case where the judge sees himself in the narcissistic, abusive father,
Of course.
and he just charged my client, who's trying to protect her teenage daughters from this abusive man, 30 days in jail,
Wow.
suspended, but the kids are being forced to be around this incredibly abusive man,
Uh,
incredibly abusive.
yeah.
So for me, I'm just letting you know, I'm creating a curriculum. I'm going to start teaching guardian ad litems. I'm going to start teaching anybody who wants to listen to me about the types of narcissism, how to know what it is, how to take care of yourself, how to not believe that it's your job to change somebody because you can
Yeah.
barely change yourself. Please
Yeah.
don't think you change somebody else, right? So I think it's important to know. Let me tell you one of the biggest things about narcissists. They can't tolerate disappointment.
Yeah.
So I tell people when you start dating somebody, intentionally cancel the date last minute.
And see how they respond.
See if they can digest that.
Yeah.
See if they are okay.
Yeah.
And they also they don't have empathy, right? All that. But they can't handle disappointment. They do a whole lot. Watch how they compliment, the love bombing, how much they give. Is it over the top? Are they compensating for something? Um, it, really look for the inconsistencies with them, and also just the idea of knowing they can present in public one way, and at church they are somebody.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
home they are very different with you.
Yeah.
Don't personalize that and think that's you.
Yeah.
Right? That
And
is
because they'll make you think it's your fault.
they'll make you think it's your fault.
Mhm.
And they'll also make you think they can't control it. But remember, in other facets, they are calm and they are not raging, but they get home
Yeah.
and do it. They do have control.
Yeah.
And people do what works, and it works for them to do what they do.
I think, having been married to a narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
gentleman 20 years ago, um, I think one of the things that is most confusing about narcissistic people is that they can be very charming,
Very.
like very charming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that part of them that you'll like,
Yeah.
that you'll be attracted to, or
Yeah.
that you think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but like you said, when faced with disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
when faced with anything that makes them look less than,
That's right. You got it.
that's too
They can.
close to their ego pain, and their ego overcompensates
Mm-hmm.
by going way over like grand.
Yeah.
Oh, you watch out for this, watch out, like
Yeah.
all the threats and all of
Yeah.
the things,
Yeah.
right?
You got it. Yeah. And they this it goes back into the blame, right? Like when there's an issue, and there will be, right? We all disconnect, and
Yeah.
you're looking to see you with somebody that can repair, right, and reconnect with you. And that, but they will always blame and be the victim, but they're always the villain.
Yeah,
They'll
absolutely.
always look for that. They will always say they're the victim, and they really are the villain. They're the ones calling it.
How do you call them out on their BS? Robin's asking. How do you call them out on their BS?
Well, and I'll say this, Robin. I say this gently. It's not about being strong enough. It's about being safe enough.
That part.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for
we're
that.
not always safe to call that out. Like if you're just getting to know somebody and it's texting or whatever it is, I tell people like know what gray rocking is, know what negging is, like know the narcissistic term so you can kind of see what you're experiencing. But they really don't care.
Yeah.
Like they want what's called narcissistic supply. If you don't give it to them, they will go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They'll get it. And so if they don't get
And
what they
thank
want,
God if they go find somebody else.
no,
Thank God for you. It sucks
yeah,
for them, but thank God for you.
yes.
Yeah.
So you just got to be safe. Like there,
Yeah.
it's not always about being able to say what you need to say, but if you can, absolutely. But also, I tell people all the time, write a letter, the no send letter, get it out of your body, release it. Don't recycle, right? We recycle or we release. Like find your way to recycle, but don't let them be any part of your solution.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you find your solution within you and within your community.
Yeah. The interesting thing about trying to break up with a narcissist or end a relationship with a narcissist
Mhm.
is it then also reinforces the rejection,
Yeah.
shame that they have inside of them. And that's when they tend to become extra possessive, extra,
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
controlling
Mhm.
because they want control over the breakup,
That's
not
right.
they cannot be the one broken up with.
Yeah.
And so
But
it kind of
yeah.
incites their capacity to be more possessive.
It so does, and we call it narcissistic shame, and
Yeah.
that just means like they all of a sudden look like they really care about being a father or a mother or whatever it is, but it's only because they got caught. They got called out on something. Something put a light on them. They're
Yes.
deflectors, right?
Yes.
And most of us are hyper reflectors, and so learning to take the hyper part off and be somebody that reflects. If you hyper reflect when you're with a narcissist, they will always be here and you're here. They will
Yeah.
love that. They
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. How perhaps can you share with people how you got to the point of forgiving your mom in the
Yeah.
narcissism that she showed?
Well, that's all God, because God told me
Yeah.
today. And I tell people, like, people don't understand this. I would call my mom and she would answer the phone and she would say, "Stop calling here," and she would hang up. Like, this is not like I would be in town and say, "Hey, mom, I'm in town, so I'll drop by and see you and dad." And she would say, You stress me. I can't handle you." And she would hang up.
Yeah.
So, like, and this is as an adult. As a teenager, just give you this one example. Went to college. I was there for about a month. I called home. My mom said, "There's no one here that wants to talk to you." And she hung up.
Wow.
Right. And I was 18. I was very drunk back then, which is how I handled everything, right? Or handled everything.
Yeah.
But this is not like a mom who's pining to see me.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. She does not want a relationship. One day, God said, "I want you to call your mom." And I said, "You call her."
Like, nah,
I
I'm
said, "You
good.
call her first. What? What? Why are you talking to me? Like, you
Yeah.
see what happens to me when I call her."
Yeah.
And like I'm telling you, if you don't hear this from the Lord, don't do it.
Mm.
Don't do it. And the only person ever got abused and was at their best was Jesus. The
Yeah.
rest of us are not going to be okay being abused.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you, God slowly showed me how to stay connected to me, be in the Holy Spirit, and call. And I learned boundaries and limits. And we would have, like, if she gave me 3 insults, I would hang up. If 10 minutes got there first, I would hang up. But it was
Mm.
a very slow progression, and I always checked in. Do I have enough in me that if she sucks life from me, that I can get through my day? And it was a slow, painful thing, and it became beautiful at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. So you really had to almost give yourself 10 minutes at a time
Yeah.
to have whatever interaction was going to
Mhm.
have in order to recalibrate yourself, like
Yes.
readjust your nervous system. So one of the
Yeah.
things, of course, I've been talking about with forgiveness is that our brain is hardwired to store and retrieve information. And
Hmm.
particularly when someone continues to harm us and continue and repeatedly harm
Yeah.
us, how do you get to the point where you forgive? You can't
Right.
forget. So how do you forgive? It's right here
Yeah.
in my face. How do we get to that point?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is you really, by the grace of God,
Yes.
literally by the
Yes.
grace and direction of God,
Yes. Yeah.
you literally gave yourself 10 minutes at a time
Right.
to spend time with her, however it was, on the
Hmm.
phone, and just recalibrate your nervous system to the point where you built a tolerance
Yes.
for her and a different perspective
Yes.
of receiving whatever it is she had to dish out.
That's right. And please know,
Woo,
I had probably at least 10 years of sobriety when it started, which meant I
that
had 12.
helps.
Oh, it did. I had the 12 steps inside of me. I had a personal relationship with God at that point. Me always studying psychology and transpersonal psychology and neuroscience has always helped me. I had placement for
Yeah.
it. And it was it, and I'm telling you, please don't do this unless it's okay. Like, it was me advocating on behalf of the little girl, not the little girl making the phone call.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I protected her, and it just built this tolerance and this strength. And somehow or another, we just became friends, and I call her every day. And it's funny, in the days that she's very mentally ill,
Hmm.
I just get off the phone. I knew that yesterday, I knew I didn't have tolerance to talk to her because she's not okay right now. She's in a bad spell right now, or
Yeah.
mentally ill, and so I just called her real quick and said, "Hey, I don't have time to talk today. I just want you to know I love you," and I hung up. But I didn't have it in me, and that's my responsibility.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
good.
yeah,
You had to take your own temperature
yep, that's right.
of what your tolerance was
That's
before
right.
you even make the phone call. You're like, how much
Yeah,
do I have in my tank for
yeah,
this?
for
How
this.
much do I have in my tank?
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah,
Thank you for that, Kim. You know, a lot of times, so let me dial back. So a lot of times with people in forgiveness, we are trying to forgive them without having done the work in ourselves.
yes. There you go. There you go.
And one of the things that I think is, if you take nothing away, anyone who's been listening, whether you've been listening all week long or you've only been listening for this past 40 minutes or so, if you take nothing away, the work has to happen in
Yep,
you
that's
to
right.
recalibrate your nervous system, to calm yourself down, to
Mhm.
change the narrative that's in your head that the abusive person put in there, change the narrative of offense, take off
Yeah,
those glasses of constantly
yeah,
being offended. Like all of those things have to happen in
hmm,
order for you to see the person differently.
right. That's right.
See the person, and it doesn't mean they've changed, doesn't mean
Right,
they are different. You
right.
just see them different.
Yeah,
So
that's
you were looking at them from this lens, now you're looking at them from this lens.
yep, that's it.
And what I definitely have in common with you, and like you said, you went through um, years of understanding psychology, you went through years of sobriety, you had 12 steps in you, you had
Right,
God in you.
right.
It's like this was a complete process.
Yes.
It wasn't just one day, I'm gonna call my mom
Yeah.
and everything's
Right.
gonna be fine. Yeah. It was a complete process
Hmm.
in you
That's right.
before you could even get to the point of
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
those conversations with her.
Right. And there is, I love understanding attachment strategies and attachment styles, and in knowing the criteria for secure connection to God within and to me, like knowing I'm attuned to me,
Yeah.
right? That I'm delighting in me, and I'm willing to delight in you. I'm willing to be attuned to you as I'm attuned to me. And if all of a sudden what you're doing doesn't let that starts to interfere with that,
Yeah.
I now have an internal template that I have more awareness of. Right? It's
Yeah.
always been there, right? How you learn to be in a relationship, a lot of that information came in the first 18 months.
Yeah.
You don't have a conscious memory, but you have this whole internal template that tells you how to be in a relationship. And so to know what secure feels like, secure connection, I knew what dysregulation felt like. And
Yeah.
I could feel both, and I could navigate it.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
navigate it. And so knowing what it feels like when you're connected to yourself,
Yeah.
and then knowing how the joy when you're connected to somebody else and you're just together and laughing and relaxed, like
Yeah.
experience that before you ever think you can go around somebody who you know is not well enough to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I had to recognize in regaining my sense of peace and my peace of mind after being in this abusive marriage,
Hmm.
um, I realized that I disconnected from who I was.
Yes. Yep.
And so you talk about knowing yourself and having a peace
Hmm.
in yourself and having a, delighting in yourself.
Yeah.
I believe that I became susceptible to that narcissism and all
Mhm.
the abuse and the dynamics of it because I disconnected from who I knew I was.
Yep. You got it.
So
Absolutely.
oftentimes when we see these, abusive relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's a parent, whether it's a coworker or whomever, there is a disconnection of self
Yeah.
that kind of keeps you entrenched in shame and
Hmm.
self-doubt.
Hmm.
Um, and some of us have these, people pleasing tendencies, and really trying to fix people,
Yes. Yes.
thinking that we need to be the hero or the,
Yes. Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
all of those things are. And you definitely got
Right.
to go to therapy to figure out which one of
Mhm.
those pertains to you, right?
Mhm.
But all of those things get in the way
Mhm.
of your being grounded in who you are,
Yep.
and therefore keeping you from being in a
Yep.
healthier state of mind that allows you to feel a sense of security in you.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And I would add to that for everyone to kind of think about, like, think of an area where, like, that you just don't, you think, well, I couldn't say that to them.
Yeah.
Or I would leave the church, but blah, 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 blah. I don't want, like, whatever. Just know that's an indication there's no self.
Yeah.
Some things happen. There's an internal collapse. Something's there. Because again, when we draw on who we are and we have that attunement to self,
Yeah.
I'm, I'll make it proportional. I'll make myself just responsible for what's mine.
Yeah.
Make it too big, then I'm like, I can't talk to Melissa.
I'm doing too much. Yeah.
I can't go do this, or
Yeah.
can't tell them no, even though I'm exhausted. I have to go clean their house and make them a casserole. I
Yeah.
have to, right? We're doing that. We're really doing that for self. It's compulsive caretaking. It
Yeah.
looks like everybody else. It's really for self because we don't know any right. We don't know any other way to
Yes.
connect to
Yes.
self. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great, really great distinction. That it looks like we're taking care of somebody else,
yeah,
but it really comes from a place of gratification within you, a need that you have to fulfill in yourself.
right.
Even though that need seems to be going outward,
That's
it
right.
really is a reflection of something that's happening
Right.
in you.
And you will do that if you've been shamed in your life for having emotional needs and things being about self.
Yeah,
So you'll have to find a passive aggressive way. It has to be compulsive caretaking. It has to be fun. It has to be something else, right? And that's why you have to be really careful, especially in the church. We teach this wrong about that. There's no self. Like you're like he saved yourself. Like this,
yeah,
yourself is so important to know your essence,
yeah,
to live in that, and in that place where we are less likely to be offended. Things
yeah.
will still happen. We will know what to do with it. If it lands on my 10-year-old, she doesn't
Mm,
know what to do.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Kim, you're brilliant.
No, thanks. I appreciate
Just in case no one told you today,
it.
you
I
get it
figured you
through
might.
me.
Yeah. Did Robin have another question? I'm sorry. I think I saw something fly by. Are we good?
Oh, well, Robin was just she was getting what we were saying. She was
Okay.
saying, hopefully, after you work
Yeah,
on
that's
yourself
good.
and your light is finally shining, they
Yeah.
may not have changed, but them seeing the glow from you may change their reactions towards you.
Yeah.
Perhaps, or maybe not,
Or maybe not.
or maybe
Because
not. That's
yeah.
one of the things. It's like when you change, you have to make sure you're changing for you.
Yes.
You can't change with the ulterior motive that that's going to change or that it's going to change them. The
Yeah.
boundaries and the change process is for you
Yeah.
and your healing.
Yeah.
It is not to quietly manipulate them
Right.
into changing into
Yeah.
what you need, because you'll be so disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's our power's not on the outside; it's on the inside. If I need you to notice, that I'm better or that
Yeah.
I lost weight or whatever it
Yeah.
is, I need my mom to notice. If I need
Yeah.
that, then that's not self, right?
Right.
Agency of self means capacity for change. It means I'm living in a life of expectancy, not expectations anymore.
That's so good. Agency of self. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. I'm going to leave the people with that.
Yeah.
As we are starting to wrap up, I want you to start thinking about what
Mm,
question you have for me as we turn the tables and we
mm,
talk about forgiveness. But I just want to remind people that this whole week has really been about garnering conversations about forgiveness.
yeah.
I could have done a book launch party and just read excerpts from the book and replayed the TED Talk and done all of the things. But I'm really passionate about having necessary conversations that bring us all forward.
Yes.
And I don't have so much agency over myself that I don't believe that my therapist friends and people that I really trust and think that I think are really smart couldn't
Mm,
um, help me have these conversations and bring it forth. I
yeah.
love talking to smart people.
Yeah.
So you are one of my smart people.
Well, I appreciate being your sister and being around
Absolutely.
your intelligence and all your hard work that you're doing in the mental health community. Like it's liberation. It's
Thank you so
liberation for people.
much.
It's so good.
We
I
are
do,
doing it together.
yeah, I do have a question for you.
All right. What is it? Give it to me.
All right, what is your favorite sentence in your new book?
Ooh. My favorite sentence in my new book is the first one that comes to mind is that I'm stumbling over it. An obstacle is a reason to plan, not a reason to stop.
Whew, mic drop.
Yeah, an
So, yeah,
obstacle is a reason to plan, not a reason to stop. A lot
yeah,
of times
that's so
we
good.
face, an obstacle and we think, oh, forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or oh, this will never work.
Yeah,
It's not a reason to stop. It's a reason to,
yeah, that's
yeah.
so good. I love that.
That was a great question.
Thank you. I'm thinking about being a therapist.
you're, you're the most. Kim Honeycutt, I adore you with my whole
Thank you.
heart. I
Thank you.
think if no one else, Robin thought this was a great week.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. We appreciate you, Robin Baker.
Yes,
Everybody else
Robin
is here. I know
Baker is
Robin's
the
here.
real MVP.
She is the MVP of the night.
I adore you. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight and allowing me to wrap up this week of F words. It's been amazing. How can the people get in touch with you if they have questions or if they want a speaker or
Yeah,
how can
absolutely.
they get in touch with you?
So please go follow me on Instagram. I need friends. So my handle is at KB Honeycutt, HONEYCUTT. So it's KB Honeycutt. And I try to do a few reels a week. Right now I'm hyper focused on narcissism because I'm so angry. And and so Denise was here. Thank you,
Denise was here.
girlfriend. Appreciate you very much. I love speaking. I love sharing my love for the Lord and the intersection of spirituality and psychology. I
Mm,
love talking about that. That's called transpersonal psychology, and people act like it's two separate things, and yet they will always be side by side.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's my new jam. I didn't know, I didn't grow up in the church.
yeah,
That's not my testimony. I wasn't
right.
Holy Ghost fire baptized all my life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But somewhere around the age of 22, when I was in this very dark, narcissistic, unhealthy, toxic relationship, my father-in-law was a pastor and he was preaching a good word and it really spoke to me. I had
Huh.
been to church before. I'd been to, vacation Bible school here and there with some friends and, in church, in and out, throughout my life. But at that age of 22, when I was in the darkest days of my life, the word he was giving really spoke to me.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I gave my life to Christ.
Mm.
And, life kept lifing. And
Yeah.
I didn't stay in a place of salvation, even though I, had gotten saved. I didn't stay in a place of sanctification and salvation.
Uh-huh.
But here I am some years later. Um, and so I never knew or believed that I would love the Lord the way that I do
Mhm.
because it wasn't birthed.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my makeup. It wasn't in the
Sure.
recipe of who I was.
Yeah.
So it's been a beautiful journey
Hmm.
to to mend my love for psychology and my love for the Lord, and really dive into these conversations about
Hmm.
what God's best for us. God,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it's been in Scripture all this time. It's been in
Right.
Scripture all
Right.
this time, and
I
so
love it. I
I
love it.
just love it. I just love it.
Me too. Well, thank you for holding space and safe space for everybody all week and for me
Yeah,
tonight. And I'm just glad to be a part of this with you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love you. I adore
Love you
you. Thank you once again. Everyone, this is where I say goodnight to you. I believe that I will do something more with forgiveness and F words and conversations. One of the things that I one of the things that wraps up in my book is the recovery process, being so not forgive and forget, but moving from recovery and rediscovery, in the process of moving from some toxic situation to a healthier situation. I am always honored when people show up to join me in these conversations. And so I send my honor to you. I love and appreciate you all for rocking with me this week. Stay tuned for more. You can always follow me as well at Dr. M.E. Tate. And of course, subscribe and share these recordings with others if you feel that it may be profitable. I love you all. Have a good night. And don't forget your F words.